And welcome back to Real Ag Radio here on Rural Radio 147 Sirius XM. The Farmer Rapid Fire is brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. And speaking of Pioneer Seeds Canada, we're joined right now by John Seliga. He is area agronomist out of London, Ontario. Hey, John, how are you doing?
Very well. Very well. Thanks, Sean.
Awesome. Okay, how are those crops looking out there?
Well, we've got everything under the sun here in southwestern Ontario. I can say that we had probably one of the longest springs we've ever experienced, and we've got crops that look really good, and we've got some crops that don't look all that great. So,
Mm.
uh, it, like I say, everything under the sun.
And why,
I would
John?
like
Like, what's created that
well,
variability?
Well, it, we had rains early in the season that certainly held back, a lot of our heavier ground. We did not get into plant more than a month behind where we would normally plant. And we've got unseeded acres in certain parts of the territory that I cover, and we it's been a few years since we've had unseeded acres.
Yeah. So, like, we've heard a lot about how great that corn and bean crop is in the Midwest. That's not the case in Ontario this year. It seems a lot more variability to the acres this year.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of variability, and that's not to say that we don't have some beautiful looking crop. We've I've been in some corn recently that we pretty much we're pretty much all dented now. So we've got crop that's on track to make it. But I've also looked at some fields where we just nicely got through pollination, and pollination in August in southwestern Ontario is a little on the late side.
Yeah, you got to
Yeah.
wonder if that corn's going to finish. No.
Well, exactly, and we right now I would say we're going to need a fantastic September and a really good October if we want to finish some of that real late seeded corn crop.
How much has tar spot shown its face this year?
Yeah. Tar spot it's here. Um, it's I would say it's variable across the territory that I cover, uh, and it probably came in a little bit later than it did last year. So we haven't seen it progress as heavily up to this point, but the conditions that we're experiencing right now, we've got high humidity. We're still getting regular rain events, and the tar spot that we have is definitely going to progress, and I expect to see more injury in the crop between now and the crop finishing
Mm.
than we've seen before before that disease came in.
Ha- have we got fungicides on all the tar spot acres or?
So grower event today, and I polled all the groups that I spoke with, and I would say, probably 60, I bet you 60 to 70% of the acres probably saw fungicide for tar spot this year.
No, wow.
Uh, last year there were acres that didn't get sprayed, and the yield hit was significant.
What about SDS?
SDS and soybeans just starting to come into play. We're starting to see it on some of the knolls. Hot cyst pockets always light up first, and it's in the canopy. It's below the top of the canopy. So if you're out walking a field, you'll start to see it when you can see into the crop.
And so, what do growers do about it? Anything?
Well, SDS it's the long game in terms of once you see the symptoms on SDS, it's really too late to resolve. SDS is something you need to plan for in the spring. More prevalent on early planted beans that go into a wet, cold soil condition. That definitely promotes higher levels of infection. There is a relationship between soybean cyst nematode and SDS. It's not 100% understood, but we definitely see elevated symptomology in those hot pockets of cyst. And we certainly have areas in the province where soybean cyst nematode populations are quite high.
Yeah.
So you need to look at your SDS score on your variety when you're choosing your varieties. And we have seen really good results from using a levo seed treatment to help manage that disease.
So you're at a grower event today. What was the
Yeah.
most common thing you heard from growers?
The most common thing that they asked us to fix was the price of corn in Chicago.
Well,
Which,
does Pioneer have that kind of power, John?
yeah, well, I did indicate that that was somewhat out of our scope of control. Unfortunately, I think if any of us could fix that, I'm sure we would.
Oh, no kidding. If you can, I'm going to put in that same sort of wish in
Yeah.
Indeed. Hey, John, thanks so much for joining us here today on the Rapid Fire. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Sean. We'll see you next time.
Great stuff. Hey, if you have any feedback on today's program, you can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. You can also call the Real Ag Feedback line, 855-776-6147. Remember, Pioneer Seeds Canada is the exclusive sponsor all year for the Farmer Rapid Fire. We greatly appreciate that. You can find out more by going to pioneer.com/Canada. Thanks, everybody, for getting real and getting connected with Real Ag Radio, and we'll chat again tomorrow. Cheers, everybody.